there, community. Jason Ram here with DevCentral, and this is DevCentral Connects. And I'm happy that you're here. And looks like it's YouTube and Twitter today. LinkedIn is having some kind of an issue, and so if you, well, I guess if you're on LinkedIn, you don't know that this is happening. So you're wondering where the stream is. Head over to. In fact, maybe I'll get posted on LinkedIn side. Head over to YouTube since the embed is not currently working. But that is neither here nor there. Today, we're going to continue on with taking a look at the BIG-IP Next Central Manager API. And last Thursday, we looked at doing that with Postman. Today, we're going to do that with Python. And, I have been, in all my spare time, which is not a lot, been looking at, carrying forward some of the work that was done with the iControl API for Python from the F5 side, as well as one of our former MVPs, Leonardo Souza, built a utility called BigRest. And so taking ideas from both of those, and just, outright ripping some of that code, but taking some of the ideas from that and building the next iteration of that in pure Python with, the next API. And so, let me do a little screen share here. Let me get added. Share screen, and let me pull that. You don't need to see my internal Teams chat. Let me get that off of that screen. Always coming back from a day of vacation, it's walking into the desk. Maybe I should have walked into the desk, or not into the desk, but to the desk, maybe just a few minutes earlier than normally getting set up for a live stream. But I enjoyed my day off, coming back from the Chicago. Let's see, entire screen. Let me do that one and hide that message. Okay. I went to Chicago for the F5 Academy road show, and I got to speak there. And everybody's so charitable. I love hanging out with the sales account teams local to territories. And this is my first time actually going to Chicago, and so I was excited. Got to meet it in person, people that I've talked to online a lot in meetings and all that. But since COVID era, we just haven't really gotten together a whole lot. And so, it's nice to get out there and meet the F5 side of the team, but it's really great also to get out and meet customers and partners. And so, had some good conversations around lunch and then, happy hour after the event. It's great. So if you get a chance to go to a road show, and in fact, I think they wrap up this week for the spring leg. But when we get back to it in the fall, if we get back to it, I don't know that anything's planned yet, but I imagine there will be another road show in the fall. And when those cities are announced, if something's coming to your city or a city close, make the effort to get out. They're so informative, and the networking that comes with that, the relationship building, it's great. Jose, welcome. Good to see you. And Matt, good way to start the day absolutely with Python. So Matt is one of the F5ers in the St. Louis area, and so when I get the chance to go into the user group, we get to touch base with Matt. And incidentally, it's not that relevant to what we're talking about, but the restaurant where I signed like my first offer letter for, I guess maybe my second offer letter at a startup way back early career, was a restaurant called Krieger's in the St. Louis area. And they had a few chains or a few locations, and then they shut down. It was really sad because they make this amazing blackened chicken sandwich. And anyway, last time I was in St. Louis, and I don't know how it came up. It's like, yeah, Krieger's, they had this great blackened chicken sandwich. And Matt's like, dude, we have 1356 Pub in Baldwin is effectively, I guess, the same ownership or whatever, but they have a lot of the same menu, and they had the blackened chicken sandwich. I went to St. Louis a couple weekends ago. My son was in town in St. Louis, so we went up and spent the weekend with him there, and we went and ate at the 1356 pub, and the sandwich was everything I remembered it to be. It was amazing. So anyway, that's Matt, and thank you, Matt, for making that connection for me, and it was great. All right, so anyway, I digress. Welcome to Big IP, Next Central Manager. This is the GUI interface there, and we're gonna build some apps. So let me go to the application workspace, and let me go ahead and blow away my little test thing there. And we'll do this in code here in a minute, but just to start with an empty slate here, refresh, that's gone, start adding apps, we're good to go. Okay, so if we look at, that is, where did my screen go? There we go. All right. So this is the, it's like, I don't have a good name for this yet, so name may change, but it's a F5 NCM for Next Central Manager, and that's as creative as I am with names on that. In fact, real quick aside, and then we'll get to this, but I was flipping through Twitter, checking my lists, and somebody who's speaking at the KC Developer Conference that's in town right now posted a thing of the chemistry element, the table of elements for chemistry, and said, an arrow to selenium. It's like, hey, do you know why selenium was named selenium? The web scraping tool allows you to do browser emulation and with command line tools and programming and all that. And I didn't, so I went and looked it up, and apparently, very early on in the development, there was some kind of a talk around, well, selenium is supposedly some kind of a medicine for mercury poisoning, and mercury was like an early competitor in that kind of space, and so they named it selenium to take out mercury, which I thought was funny. But anyway, that's naming. I'm not good at it. Not the creative side of things for me. But anyway, this is F5 NCM, and it's very, very early stages. It basically allows you to wrap your method calls just in a class. So it manages login for you. It manages your bearer tokens. Different from iControl REST is that you have bearer tokens instead of like a normal token or using basic authentication. And so you get your JOT token. Oh no, sorry, that's licensing. But bearer token for authentication. Very first thing you log in, you send in the your data payload, your credentials, and then from there on out, after the first call, it's all bearer token, and you gotta supply that with every call. And so if you've worked with the Postman collection yet, you'll find that as you're working through and looking at all your methods and all the things that you can do, you'll find it's like, oh, I timed out. Oh, I timed out. Oh, I timed out. And so, the wrapper here handles all of the timeout stuff for you. If you get to the point to where the active token expires, it'll use the refresh token. If the refresh token is expired, then it'll just go log in and grab you a new token. So you don't have to manage any of that. You just instantiate, and then you're good to go. And that's what's kind of shown right there. So have a status next API. Why did I get a next API here? Okay. Not really sure why that. Anyway, let's refresh. In this early stages, so I'm still building. I've already found errors with some of the way that I implemented how you validate the paths. One of the things I wanted to do with this library is, if I'm not going to a valid API path on Central Manager to error out before the request is even sent, eventually I'll add the method validation as well. So if it's to a path, but it's not an appropriate method, I'll error out on that too, just to save, bandwidth. There's no reason to send the request if it's going to fail, right? And so I had the path validation in there, but then as I was adding other things, found that, if I put an object ID in the path to be able to pull down a document, then, that's obviously not in the object ID specifically that is created is not part of the path. And so it would error out. So I have to fix that logic. But let's just kind of look at, and let me go to, here we go. And this is just kind of some of the stuff that we're going to work through. Creating a document and then pulling it down. And the only thing I have built in code so far is is working with the documents API. And I'm going to update this article because after I wrote the article, I just started thinking, I hate we have the compatibility interface, and that one is kind of named the compatibility interface, but then we have the other interface, and it's not really named, and so I just said next specific. But that I got an email from somebody that's like, it was just kind of confusing and all that. So what I'm going to do for now, until there's actually official nomenclature for what the AS3 API endpoints are called, I'm going to use compatibility, and I'm going to use documents. So the documents API, the compatibility API for AS3. And so I'm going to update this article to reflect that. So as I go through here, next specific is documents, and that's what I'm going to work for that. But I have, and in not even covered, do I mention it in this article, that eventually you can use a classic compatible like a declaration either in either API endpoint, whether it's documents or the compatibility interface. But if you're posting a document to the documents API, you don't actually have to do anything other than so all this stuff can be pulled out, and even the tenant actually. So everything here up you don't need. You can just declare it as a document, and then everything under there goes. And that's reflected in the way that Central Manager displays it. And I'll show you that when we get to there. But we'll work through some of these different operations. So let me scroll back. Where's my mouse? There we go. All right. So we want to import next. And we're going to import our AS3 utilities. And so here, the way I've defined this, and eventually there will be more keywords here. But right now, the arguments that I have is the device I'm going to connect to. This is my central manager in my local lab. And if you have any questions along the way, any features that you would like to see added to this, something that frustrated you with the iControl package that we had on GitHub, or with Big Rest that frustrated you, or anything that you'd just like to see made easy with Python and working with the API, drop those in comments, and I'll add those as issues to the GitHub library, so that as I'm thinking through all those things, I can ideate through and work through those. But then obviously username and password. I have not built into this yet using my my 1Password vault, but I do have that integration on my Mac so that I can just pull these out locally. But that doesn't help in the library, so I need to find a more, like, I guess, generic way to support that, and maybe I could just have some like helper functions to do that, so that I don't have to change the code here. But for now, it's a lab environment, so I don't mind that you see my central manager let me in 00 bang, and then session verify is false. That means I don't have valid certificates on central manager, and so it'd error out if I didn't include that. So I can instantiate that, and then you can see that I don't have my debug variable yet or defined. No refresh timestamp, so this hasn't actually hit a bearer token refresh yet. And you can see my access and refresh tokens are there. And then I don't have the username and password. I did submit it, but I clear that out as soon as I send it, so it's just not sitting in memory for somebody to slurp if they get access to it. All right, so now we can do something fun with that. You could do everything native from this point. So you could do, instead of doing it the way I'm going to show you with the utilities I'm building, you can do them natively and just use the requests library, populate out your API endpoints. But what I'm trying to do here is just build utilities of commonly used things. And so if we go up here to close these out up top and expand it. This is the one I'm working on right now in this this branch of code. And I don't know how many of you guys use an IDE. This is PyCharm, and it's in a Git repo. So everything showing up here colored is this is a new file. This is an updated file, and so this is a brand new branch I haven't committed yet, and so I'm just working through the documents API, and so I've got a create document. I've got to get documents. I can get all the documents that are out there. I can get a specific document by sending an ID, and of course I haven't built update or delete yet, but I do have update and deploy. I'm sorry, let me see. Update document I moved. I got 2 of those. What am I doing? Oh, no, wait, no, one's a deploy. No, that's the update. And so what I haven't built yet is the compatibility API. I'll work on that probably later today or tomorrow. But we can work through this. So I imported all these. So in the create document, first I need to actually define a document. So let me just pull one in. Grab app1 equals, and let me grab that out of, get VS Code up with some JSON goodness. I guess I could have just slurped the file in, but okay. So now we've got app1 and it's sitting out there. All right, so to create a document, all I need to do is reference my instantiation and then pass the document. So I can just, since I updated this, create document B, and then app1 is my data. And we created successfully. That's good news. And there's my document ID right there. And so if we go over here to Central Manager, that's not the right way. Okay, so if I refresh this, I should see a document draft out there. Let me come back here. Okay. And so we see that as a draft. And if you haven't read through the article yet or don't know how Next is set up, the compatibility API is a kind of a one-shot deploy, a one-shot undeploy. If you use the compatibility interface, when you declare and send that declaration, it builds the document in Central Manager and then it deploys it to an instance, all in kind of one shot. Now the scenes, like behind the scenes, it still has to do that in 2 steps. But from your perspective, you send one request and it happens. And then you have a document on Central Manager that you can reference that has been deployed on a target instance. And with the compatibility interface, that can be one or multiple applications. With the documents API, you're sending a single application service. So one, like effectively one VIP, right? And so you can reference however many objects are related to that VIP within that declaration, but it's one service. And so that exists to now out there in Central Manager, and then we can reference that now. Yeah, I created it, but I didn't actually create it against a variable, so I can't use that. We can do it again once we do a delete. Let me see, did I create the delete yet? I haven't created the delete, so let's do that. We'll just copy that and paste down here. So we want to do an object delete. Don't need that. And that, I should be able to do that. Okay, so let me grab this and then I'll refresh my session here. And I don't think, yeah, okay. So let me refresh that now that that's there. Okay, and so I should be able to delete document against B and pass that ID. Did that give me something? Yep, okay. Message there is the application has been deleted successfully. So, I can give more instruction in the code as I work on this library. It's like when I'm doing a delete object, I can just pass along the message. And so if instead of passing on this entire string, just say, hey, that was done successfully, or it wasn't done successfully. But if we go back and reference Central Manager now, again, boom, we don't have applications there. So if I do create it, instead, I can up arrow to where I created this, and I can do app1 equals that. Oh, I guess I do have to post that again, don't I? Since I refreshed my screen. Where'd my mouse go? I love having multiple screens for, it's like having a reference monitor on the side where I'm working on stuff. But anytime I have to go find a window, it's crazy time because I need to get like one of those giant circles around my mouse for one of those applications that does that. Okay, now let me try that again. All right, so that was created successfully. And I'm given an ID. So if I go get that document now, I should be able to do app1 equals get document, pass B, and then pass the ID, which I can pull out. That's just app ID, right? So, and that's a dictionary. So I can do app.get ID. I guess that's technically app1. I'm going to reassign that. So let me just A1. All right. So with A1 now, if we view, just pop that up big. Can you guys see? Oh, that's not pretty. That doesn't look good. So let me pull this up and pull this over. So when we get that back from the API, we can see that we have an ID. We've got the document there, and you can see all the different attributes in there. ID when it was created, but the way the documents library works, again, is it only creates a draft of that document. It doesn't deploy it. So if I refresh that, we can see that we have that draft there. So now if we want to actually go ahead and deploy that, we need to do that in a separate step. So we have the ID, and that's just going to be A1 dot ID when we pass that. So if we come up here to our delete doc, or not delete, we don't want to delete. We want to deploy. So we need the ID and we need this this target IP as well. And so let's do that. And then so deploy. Actually, we can just do a response equals deploy document. We need B. We need the ID, which would be a1.get ID. And then we need a target IP. So if we pass that, 172.16.2.161, and let me go back to here. You can see if we come to our instances, I have two instances, both licensed on the system, and I've got 161 and 162. And so let's go back to our application workspace, and we can see that we have this, but it's not deployed to any instances. And so if I go ahead and hit go there, if we look at our response, so it says that it deployed successfully as a 202, but I'm not really sure why next is giving us why I'm getting an API error. We can look at that. Where's my create function? API call. Oh, that's why. See, I've got response status code not equal to 200. And if you notice on that response there, it's a 202. So I'm getting an error that, hey, that's not good. And so that actually needs fixed. So let me do a to do and the other 2xx acceptable error codes. And so that's always handy. So when you're doing a commit into your library, you'll get a pop up and it'll say, "Hey, you still have these to dos; they're not done. Are you sure you want to commit?" And you can also just get a to do list centralized so that you can work through your issues as you're working through code without having to go out and document it all. Take you out of your workflow. So let's go back here so we can we deployed that document. So now and we do, you see this has been deployed to an instance, and so that's good. That's exciting. And so now, if we want to do an update, we haven't built that yet, and so we can do that. Let's do. So let's go back to next. What did we call our update? Def create, def delete, def update. Okay. And yeah, I did call it an update. And so that does currently a put. I know when some methods within the API are patches, not puts. And so I'm going to have to address that. Like, how am I going to do an update here? Am I just going to say, okay, this is an update. Are you wanting to patch or put? Or if I'm just going to validate against the API, and depending on the path, use the appropriate method for that, and so that you as the end user don't need to worry about that. But I haven't gotten that far yet. So if we come back here to AS3 and we want to update a document that is going to be there, I'm going to do an actual update. And so if I want to update that document, then I update to that ID, and things should be golden. And so, all right, so what we have right now, if we come out to this application service and we edit this, we have an IP address that's pretty small. Hopefully that you can see that a little better. We have a 101 or 10.100.100.101. And so if I update that, let me make a change. Where'd my mouse go? All right, to my thing. Let's do that to 111, since we're going to do an update to that. And the Command A, Command C, come back over here. And so app 1, let's just do app update equals. Okay. And so I have an updated application. Oh, actually, I need to refresh because that's a new method we just defined. So interesting too that I learned about Python on the way, that once you're in and you've imported, re-importing in the same session doesn't really work. So you just need to clear your session, because like if I had changed that and said, okay, hey, do this update, it doesn't actually update that, which is kind of frustrating. But neither here nor there. If you've been working in Python a while and you know a workaround that I don't have to redo my session, that'd be awesome. So let me know. And I'm going to minimize a couple things so I can see what I'm doing here. And so I need app update. Okay. And so what we want to do here, instead of create document, we want to update the document. And what do we call that? App update. Let's see it over there on the right. Okay. All right. Let's see if this works. It does not. Update document requires one additional. Oh, that does make sense. Doesn't make sense to pass data if I'm not actually passing data. So, and this needs to be ID, not name. Okay, one more time. App update equals. Oh, yep. Kind of need to do that. What am I missing? Oh, I'm missing the object ID. So I need to load it. Because have to keep me honest here. Let me get documents. App one. Okay, so let's get a document. Let's just get all documents. We haven't done that yet. App list equals get documents B. All right, so that actually gives us a list of documents. So I can do for app in app list, print f name would be app.get name. Is that right? Let me look at the app list here. Yep. And then I also need, oh, hold on. That needs, let me see, I need one of those. I'm double. Okay. So that's name, and then ID is app get ID. Oh, I gotta ID. That's that, and then that's that. Do I have that right? ID, single quote. Yep, that should be good. All right. So if I had a big list here, then that gives me my ID. So now I can get, because I have that there, now I can do my update document, which is that ID. And I could pull that out since I only have one directly, but I'll just go ahead and copy and paste for now. And let's try. And then app one, what do we get there? I'm not really sure what it returns yet. Okay, good. App service. Okay, so app1.get message. Application service was updated successfully. And so if I come in here again and look, we should have a new IP address in here, and we do in fact. So that update worked good. I love building these things live because you never know if it's going to work. And hey, success, love it. Okay, and so let's do our delete of that document that we created. And so do I have that ID in app one? Got the message. Curious, is that the same? Yeah, okay. So you do have in app one, you've got the fact that it was deleted. The delete itself does not get an ID. I don't know if they're like should have a task ID for the deletion, but I'm sure in the activity log there's a additional information in there that isn't returned to you in the deletion of that. But when you deploy, you do get a task ID for the deploy, and then the deployment itself gets a. Let me see. Do we deploy? What was our get document there? Oh yeah, let's just get it and take a look at it before we delete it. Okay. So app one, we'll just get that again. Get document. We'll pass the instantiation, and then let's go ahead and post that again. I want to show you something in here, which is nice. And then for app one, you get the deployments and the deployment count. So, if you deploy this multiple times, like if you're deploying it to more than one instance, then it's going to give you a count for that, the amount that the total amount, the ones that you've completed. But then in the deployments itself, it gives you the deployment ID, the instance ID of where it's deployed, and then the target IP and whether it's been modified or not. And so we did modify that, and so you get a lot of metadata along with deployments, which is pretty awesome. So that'll be helpful with however you visualize your data in your environment, how you're managing workloads and all that outside of the workload itself, just working, being able to manage where it is, when it is, how it was there, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and blow this bad boy away. So you can delete document. I just have to pass the ID. So app one goner equals delete document, and I can pass that along. And app one goner dot get dot message. What does it say? Response body. Let me just. Oh, I'm still getting that error. Okay. So if I wasn't getting that error, I would have, okay, message deployment. Okay. So I have a little bit of work to do on that front, but that application should be going now. And that was unhappy because that's gone now. So yeah, start adding apps. So where I was into a document that no longer exists. One other thing that I haven't built, and I should, is that you can delete the deployment without deleting the document, and that's covered in this article here. You can just go like in the backwards movement. You can delete the deployment, so the document still exists on Central Manager. If you delete the document, you delete the deployment with the document, and so you can either two-stage it or one-stage it on the way backwards. On the way forward, you have to build the document and then deploy the document. But you can skip the deployment and just blow it all away by doing a delete. In fact, I should probably have a deploy or a delete. Let me see. I have the delete document. I should add a delete deploy as well, and so I'll add that later. But that's kind of what I wanted to show you today on the AS3 front, playing with Python. And so if you have interest in this going forward, let me know. Comments. You can go out and check out the repo, which is let me grab that real quick. It is GitHub. There it is, right there. And so let me drop that in comments, and go out, play with it, let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see in it. And depending on how much interest there are, will determine on how much time I devote to this going forward. Because I like having pure Python things when I'm learning a system, because it makes my discovery a little faster, but also I just learn it better because I'm working with it at a lower level. And what we'll do in future shows, and I don't have them scheduled, it'll be down the road a little bit into our fourth quarter of the fiscal year. So probably August, September timeframe. I'll get back to doing a couple more shows like this with automating around the central manager interface. But I'll get into Ansible and Terraform. And so, if you just like all of that automation to be packaged for you in tools because you have those tools in your environment, we'll be supporting those as well. And so I'll be digging into Ansible and Terraform in the August, September timeframe. But if you want to just stick with a language that allows you to interrogate the APIs directly, I love Python for that, but you can do it with curl, which I did in the article. Last week's show we did with Postman, and you can work in Postman to do these things as well. And this is your friend. Not this one. This one is your friend for looking through the APIs and what's out there. One other thing I wanted to show you while you can go out and check out those links is the file, the API spec, and that is pulled in at load, and this is just and this is where I'm going to be doing all the validation. So let me see, where's that? One thing we'll look at before we get out of here. So load spec. So go to notation. Okay, so I pull that in, and then just a lift comprehension for pulling in all those paths. So if I look at, because that's here, go down here to B, and that's valid API paths, pulls that in. So everything in here are these API paths. And so, everything that is in here on this page should be in here, and vice versa. If it's here, it should be here. So if you find issues with that not being the case, let us know, and we'll take a look at that. But that's the end of what I had today. I hope it was helpful to you. It's interesting for me. I love playing with Python. I love learning new things with Central Manager, and so I'll be continuing to work against this library as I have time, and I'll prioritize it going forward. If it's going to be something, if a lot of people are weighing in and saying, "Hey, yeah, I would like to have that," as I'm getting started with Big IP Next, I'll prioritize more time doing it. Otherwise, it'll just remain a pet project that I'll get to once in a while. So thank you for joining today, and I appreciate you being here, and we will see you out there in the community. Take care, everyone, and have a great weekend. I know we have one more day before the weekend. At least most of us have one more day before the weekend, but hopefully it'll be a good one, and take care of it out there, everyone.
Well, thanks for checking out that video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. You might want to check out one of these videos over here. And if you haven't already, go check out community.f5.com. This is where all the DevCentral Connects hosts hang out, as well as the rest of the community. It's free to sign up, and we'll see you there.